What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kempel of Label Free Podcast. Still your best life. You must live label free. I'm very excited. We have a special guest. His name is Jesus Campa. Jesus is the CEO of America's Best Strategic Security Group, and he's also the CEO of Leading Through Adversity. Jesus, thank you so much for joining us today. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, my name is my full name is Jesus Eduardo Campa. Family has always called me Eddie. I'm just trying to go by Jesus now. But I was born in El Paso, Texas. Did 27 years of law enforcement experience. I served 20 years with the El Paso County Sheriffs Office, retiring as the chief deputy. In 2014, I went on to become the chief of police at Ector County. For a year, then I became the chief of police in the East Texas community town that was rattled by racial division. For 3 years, I was up there, and then I became the state director for the Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training for the state of Oklahoma. Now I'm retired completely from law enforcement after 27 years of running my companies, America's Best Strategic Security Group and Leading Through Adversity. We have a book coming out here on July 4th that we're really excited about, and married, have 3 beautiful kids, and like you, unfortunately, I don't have pit bulls. I have a 6-pound Yorkie.
Okay, and thank you for saying that, because my little 8-week-old is whining in the background. So you guys, if you've been listening, you know that I have animals, and sometimes they like to make a little noise. Jesus, you know what? I just completely admire all your work in law enforcement, and I know that that's not an easy road. And thank you for all that you do. And I mean, you guys really get the brunt of it, especially in the last year. It's been pretty rough on law enforcement. So I'm sure you've seen a lot and gone through a lot. How do you think that has impacted you becoming a CEO and you know, not only having a security company, but also starting Leading Through Adversity? Because I think that makes a huge impact.
Right. So Leading Through Adversity is, you know, I love the name of the company that I chose, just because, you know, my entire life has been full of adversity. And I think that leadership nowadays has just become a little soft, and we need to get a little bit tougher on learning how to lead. You know, I think that, you know, society has just gotten really soft. And I think that people have forgotten that, look, you know, leadership is not about being liked. If you want to be liked, you know, go do something like sell ice cream or something like that where everybody will like you. You know, leadership is about getting a task done, getting a mission accomplished. And yes, you've got to always look out for the people that are around you. That's always a given, of course. But you know what? You have a mission. You've been placed in that leadership role for a reason, right? So you got to move forward. Now, one of the things that really brought me to your podcast was the name. It's Label Free Podcast, and I love that name. Because when I was the chief of police, you're talking about adversity. When I was the chief of police in East Texas, I was brought in because, you know, it was a very racially divided community, and they were not going to hire another Caucasian male, and they sure as heck were not going to hire an African American. So they settled for the little caramel Mexican guy, me, you know. And they said, hey, you know what, fix this racial division, change the culture. So when I arrived, I quickly implemented a program called No Colors, No Labels. And it was an initiative designed to remove the preconceived notion that the police were racially motivated. So when I saw your podcast, I was like, hey, that's just something that I think I need to be part of, because just like the name, you know, and it drew me to you all. And listening to some of the conversations you had, like last week or a couple of weeks ago, you had, you know, perfection isn't great or something like that. That was awesome. Yeah. So, you know, I'm all about diversity and bringing people together. And I really do think that, you know, our main task at Leading Through Adversity is kind of showing people and leaders and CEOs the truth about leadership and what they don't teach you about leadership at school. You know, they don't teach you that it's lonely at the top, that, you know, you're going to be surrounded by many people who are only around you because of the benefits they have, because they surround themselves around the leader, and how quickly they will forget about you when you're no longer in that position, you know. So you also got to remember that as a leader, you know, you're always going to have a master that you, especially in the public sector, you're always going to have a master that you have to serve. For instance, I know my master at the time when I was hired is the city manager, the mayor, the city council, and of course the citizens. So you're never really free to do what you want to do. So now that, you know, that I've left the public sector, you know, it's totally different, because now I do things on my terms, you know, because the only person I'm beholden to is me. Right. If the companies work, they work. If they don't, they don't. And whose fault is it? Sure. Literally, whose fault is it? It's mine.
I love your no colors, no label initiative. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like
Sure.
I mean, that had to be a battle if it was so racially divided. I mean, we saw over this last year how divided the whole world became, right? And so for you to go in and actually fix that in your own area, like that had to be quite a task to take on.
Well, it was a huge task, and I think the puppy wants me to ask how she's doing. Is she doing okay?
She's okay. She's just
Uh,
wanting some attention.
awesome. So yeah. So I was, like I said, I was hired. I think this whole thing goes back. This whole racially division issue. We had done a really good job in our country, in the United States, of kind of suppressing racial division. It was there. We knew it existed,
Yeah.
but we kind of just, it wasn't as wide open. And I think something happened in right about 2014, which is about the time that I took over over there. And I think something happened where, because between 2014 and 2016, things were good up until, whether you agree with him or don't, and I'm not going to make this political, but up until a certain individual announced his candidacy, it was almost like racial division just reared its ugly head again. Things just changed. All of a sudden, a certain group of individuals thought that they could rear their ugly head again. And, I, you know, I don't know, while I was serving as the chief of police there in a very racially diverse, very racially impacted community, it was hard. It was harder to get things accomplished after that person announced their candidacy.
Interesting.
But it really was. It was day and night. I mean, when we first got there and I implemented the No Colors, No Labels initiative, I did it because I was ordered to change the culture of the organization, right?
Right.
And the department, the No Colors, No Labels was designed to remove the preconceived notion that the police were racially motivated. So, we started doing cultural awareness meals. We introduced an ice cream truck. We started doing community-based policing, 21st century, door knocking, grassroots, things that had never been done in that community. And prior to that, the officers were kind of coming along, screaming and kicking, but they were coming along.
Sure.
And in 2016, when that candidacy was announced, everything just went to hell. Like all of a sudden, they put their foot down and were like, "Hell no, we're not coming along anymore. We're not going to do this. We don't
The
agree with it."
officers?
The officers, yeah, and that was very shocking, especially coming from a group of people that are there to swear, who were sworn to protect
Right.
everybody.
Yeah.
So it made it difficult, but we were able to make some inroads. We reduced crime by 20%. We went from
Wow.
6 homicides to one homicide that year. We went down to a fully staffed department. We got the department recognized by Texas Best Practices. I was awarded in 2017 the Martin Luther King Humanitarian of the Year Award by the NAACP for
Amazing.
everything that we did. But unfortunately, I consider it my biggest success, but I also consider it my biggest failure because I could not bring the men and the women of the police department along for the ride, And I think what happened is there's a difference between listening and hearing. I mean,
Yeah.
you can hear everything I say, but
Right.
are you actually listening? And I think what happened is that this group of people took what I said about no colors, no labels. And if you listen to what I said, it says no colors, no labels, an initiative designed to remove the preconceived notion that the community has that the police are racially motivated. Now, who has the preconceived notion? The community.
Right.
What the police heard was
That
the
they were.
police are racist.
Yeah.
That's what they heard.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect came. And the fact that, to top it all off, that the majority of those police officers were racist. They didn't like being called out as racist.
Sure. Sure.
So I think that's where a lot of the backlash, a lot of the issues came from. But even though we had those issues, we proved that even while you're living with that mechanism, people can get along if they're forced to.
Sure.
So it's something that can change. But unfortunately, once I left, they got rid of the No Colors, No Labels initiative, removed it, and things are back to what they consider to be normal back in their community. Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Hey guys, Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. Are you a six-pack kind of guy or a dad bod kind of guy? Either way, our friends at Manscaped have the fellas' hairy bodies covered. They just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. That's right, you heard that right. 4.0. Trim from the leaders in male grooming. So the man in your life can join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code labelfree20. That's right, 20% off with free shipping with the code labelfree20. So head on over to their website, manscaped.com, and pick up something for yourself, the man of your life, whomever that might want to benefit from keeping everything nice and tight for the summer.
Fortunate.
Sounds like you really made a positive impact with your campaign. I mean, especially doing those grassroots initiatives, like going door to door, and the ice cream truck and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's pretty amazing. And honestly, I think that the stigma behind police officers, at the end of the day, you guys are human beings as well. That's just your job. You took an oath to serve and protect. But when you leave, you go home just like everybody else that goes home from a job, and you're still a human being. And whatever your beliefs are, your beliefs, right? Just like me, like whatever my beliefs are, my beliefs. And I have to be responsible from where I come from in my beliefs, just like everybody else does too. And you do have to, we are all on this planet together, and we do have to get along. What I don't understand is we're all here, we should be supporting each other for the greater good. And I'm my best friend, she's an African American, and when all this racist stuff happened last year, I had a really hard time. Like, I was crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just terrible, because that, I don't really feel like that's the majority. I don't think that it is at all. I think that, yes, maybe it has been suppressed, but I thought that as a nation and as a world, we've come much further along. And I think that there's just, people had a reason to just be angry, and it got crazy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, if you really want to get to the root cause of it, like I said, it doesn't matter what political side you're on. You just got to call it for what it is. I mean, there was a lot of rhetoric, a lot of undertone, soft noise, basically, that made it almost like if it was okay to bring those racial things to the forefront again, unfortunately. And I think that a lot of the progress that had been made, in the last 30, 40 years was lost in 4 years. I mean, that's just, whether you agree or not, that's just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You call a spade, that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got to kind of put it back.
Yeah. Yes. So tell us more about your leading through adversity, and what you do to help leaders or help people become better leaders.
So, during my time as a chief of police and a state director, I found myself, like I said, alone a lot of times. I had ideas, I had concepts. I'm a really outside the box thinker. I'm a visionary, and sometimes a lot of people have a hard time relating because they can't see my vision. Usually because it's not theirs, it's mine, and it's a long-term game that we're playing. So a lot of the times you don't have anybody to really bounce off ideas off of. And that's what leading through adversity is. We're kind of a sounding board for CEOs and leaders who feel that same way. Sure. A lot of the times when, like I said, when you're in the public sector, or even the private sector, you have shareholders that you unfortunately, they serve as your masters, unfortunately. That before you're ready to relinquish or talk about an idea or a program or a process or new merchandise that you're going to introduce, you need to bounce it off somebody, basically an independent body, not what I refer to as a Kevin. Kevin is somebody who kisses your ass and just tells you yes about it. Oh yeah. I know the correct term is Chad, but in my experiences, well, you have Karens, and then apparently the male version of a Karen is a Chad, but I call it a Kevin because a Chad's just a tattletale. A Kevin is a kiss ass, who has his head up.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so
don't be a Kevin.
Yeah, don't be a Kevin. So you don't want to be a Kevin, and you need somebody that's going to tell you the truth. So we have a lot of CEOs from around the country, different industries, private and public, who give us a call and say, hey, you know what, let me bounce this idea off. Then we just go through the pros and cons, and we kind of develop the process and build a strategic plan around how they're going to roll out this program or this initiative. And that's what we do. We do private mentoring, coaching, development, leadership. You heard me mention strategic plans. So we build strategic plans for businesses of any size or new businesses. And what's a strategic plan? It's basically your business plan. If you're in the private sector, if you're in the public sector, well, it's a strategic plan. Where are you? Where are you now? Where have you been? Where are you? And where are you going within the next 5 years? We develop policy and procedure for a lot of police agencies and anybody that really needs some kind of HR workbook. And we just got into the field of executive searches. One of the things that we're doing is we're helping a small town up here in Texas find their next police chief and their fire chief. And, it was kind of funny because we actually got the contract while we were not the lowest bidder, we were the middle bidder,
Sure.
but they really liked the name of the executive search of leading through adversity. We're going to find you someone who can lead through adversity, because I think a lot of people, when they confront adversity, they either break down and shut down and go into a fetal position and suck their thumb, because that's the society we live in nowadays. We've managed to foster a lot of
I'm not from that time frame.
well, I can tell, because from our conversation before, I think that our generation understands that, when adversity comes, you got to look at it as an opportunity and move forward. You got to.
Yeah, I think it helps develop those important characteristics to be a leader, to make a change. I mean, to be a better person. So I like that. This whole soft generation, this whole soft society, the idea of society is I just cannot wrap my head around it. Like how I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was like at the top of my brain. I'm like, I have to say this.
And the funny thing is here, look, I get it. I'm all about inclusion. I'm all about diversity. I'm all about involvement. I don't believe, even though it might come across as if you're hearing me, that I sound like one of those dictator leadership styles. Yeah. That's not my style. I would rather coach you and mentor you. I'd prefer to show you so you don't have to ask me how to do something. Like that biblical saying, I'm not a biblical guy, but that biblical saying that says, show a man a fish. Give a man a fish and he'll eat today, but show him how to fish and he'll eat forever. Yeah. Well, that's the same way, and unfortunately, I think what's happened is that we live in a society where social media has taken over everything, that people, are more concerned about how many people are following them, how many people like them. And then, we've got these, what we call, the keyboard warrior who gets on there and says whatever he wants to say. And he's a tough guy or a tough girl behind the keyboard, but once you confront them, because that's happened to me many times. I've had people talk so much shit about me on the internet, but yet when I walk into the room that they're in, the first thing they do is they turn around and walk away because they don't want to see me. But I guess, I am who I am because of those people, because, hey, you know what? They've actually made me realize something, that I am more important than I ever thought I was, because, if you can actually dislike me to that point and all you do is think about me, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, you've definitely made an impact in their lives.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I'm not even that important to my wife or my kids sometimes, sometimes they go days without talking about me, but I've got people out there who just can't stop talking about me on the internet. So it's like, they say they hate me, yet they follow me and stalk me on social media. It's just wow. And I guess that's where they get confused, because they're not really haters. What they really are is fans,
Yeah.
So.
That's so true. I love that. That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
But I think that, leadership as a whole is, it's just got to come back around, the false narratives that people put out there, it's got into a place where people are more concerned with being first and putting out a false narrative than an educated narrative. I mean, you don't even know which news outlets to follow and take serious anymore, because, it's like, so one of the things that I'm really proud of is the fact that, I'm working on a PhD. I graduate next year on March 2022.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. And, but one of the things that is that you can say whatever you want to say to me, and before I believe it or not, I'm going to do my research.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dig and I'm going to read. And you know what? Just because it's on Google doesn't mean it's true. Right. And just because you told me your version doesn't mean it's true. There's three sides to every truth. His and theirs, and then there's the truth. And I'm that guy that gets to the truth. So.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. So how do companies or people that are looking for this kind of coaching or training or strategic strategy, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to us at leadingthroughdversity.com. We have our contact page there. You just fill it out, send us what you're looking for, whether it's executive searching, coaching, mentoring, one-on-one. If you just need to, I mean, there's times that I take phone calls just to hear somebody vent for 5 minutes, Of course, they do receive a bill for it, but I mean,
so don't call and vent unless you're ready to pay for
right.
it. Okay?
So don't call us. No, and actually, no, we've actually had a lot of people just call and vent, and we'll just listen to them, and we don't send them a bill. But our strategic planning, executive searches, coaching, mentoring. We just implemented a new program. It's a retreat where if you are a leader or you have a sales team or you have a management team that's kind of lost its edge, we have a Forged by Force program, which is it's a retreat. You come to us or we'll go to you. It's a 3-day retreat where we help you find your fire and your passion for what you're doing again.
Yeah.
But yeah, leadingthroughdversity.com, or you can reach out to us at 915-243-1412 and get in contact with us that way, and we'll be more than happy to work up a plan and a proposal for you.
Awesome. Before we wrap things up, Jesus, is there any last words you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I always like to tell people just, when you're out there in leadership, the one thing you got to remember is not to let the same snake bite you twice.
Ooh, good one. I need to write that one down. That might be the title for this episode.
There you go. Yeah.
No, just kidding. I no, but because that would be like interesting. But all right, well, thank you very much for being a guest, and I really appreciate you sharing some of your story, and thank you for all that you've done in law enforcement over your career, and just I wish you lots of success and keep making good leaders for us because we need them in this world. With that being said, you guys, this is your host, Deanna Kempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.